I came home from a 12-hour shift at 6 in the morning. There was a suitcase in my hallway that didn't belong to me, and a woman in my kitchen in a bathrobe making herself coffee. My mother-in-law. She said, "Oh good, you're home. Didn't Eric tell you? I live here now." My son came out of the living room, confused, half asleep, and asked why he was sleeping on a cot. I picked up my phone and called my husband. He declined the call. He made that decision without one word to me. My name is Olivia Reed. I'm a nurse. I work long shifts and I come home to a 2-bedroom apartment with a mortgage and a 10-year-old son. And I needed exactly 2 weeks to make sure that suitcase left the same way it arrived, quietly but completely. Stay until the end because the phone call that changed everything happened at the kitchen table with everyone in the room and nobody saw it coming. Then texted, "Don't make a scene, don't kick her out." The apartment felt wrong the moment I walked in. Different smell, strange shoes by the door, a large burgundy suitcase with a worn handle sitting in the entryway like it owned the place. And then, from the kitchen, the voice, "Olivia, you're home." My mother-in-law, Nadine, was standing at my counter in a housecoat holding my coffee mug. "Nadine, how did you get in?" "Eric has a key." She smiled the way people smile when they've already won. "He said you two discussed it." "We didn't discuss anything." She looked at me the way a teacher looks at a student who forgot to do their homework. "Well, I'm here now. I sold my place in Millbrook. I need somewhere to land while things settle." My son, Jake, appeared in the doorway, still squinting from sleep. "Mom, why am I sleeping on the cot in the living room?" "I'll explain later, buddy." I went to the bedroom and called Eric. He declined. 5 minutes later, a text. "I'm driving. We'll talk later. Don't make this into a thing. She has nowhere to go." I set the phone down and went to make breakfast. For 3 people, apparently. By day 3, I understood what I was actually dealing with. Nadine woke up at 6 every morning and turned on the television, health programs, at a volume suitable for someone who genuinely could not hear. She required fresh oatmeal every morning. Yesterday's oatmeal, she explained, was hard on her stomach. She washed her laundry separately because her skin was sensitive. She needed the second bedroom, my son's room, because she slept lightly. Jake moved his backpack and textbooks to a corner of the living room and got quieter by the day. "Mom, is Grandma staying forever?" "I don't know yet, buddy." That was the honest answer. The full honest answer was, "I don't know, and that scares me." But I kept that part to myself. That evening, I sat on the front steps of our building for 20 minutes just to breathe. A neighbor from the 4th floor came and sat beside me. Barbara, retired, short gray hair, the kind of woman whose eyes missed nothing. "Trouble arrived with luggage?" she said. I laughed in spite of myself. "Is it that obvious?" "Honey, I've seen that face before, on my own face, about 30 years ago." I asked if she'd ever worked in law. She had, 30 years in family and civil cases before she retired. So I told her the whole thing. Eric's mother had sold her house in Millbrook, gave the money to her daughter Karen, who used it to upgrade to a 4-bedroom house, and now Nadine had no home of her own and was living in our 2-bedroom apartment with a mortgage and a 10-year-old son. And I needed exactly 2 weeks to make sure that suitcase left the same way it arrived, quietly but completely. By day 6, I told Nadine we needed to talk. She nodded from her corner of the couch. "I'll be happy to help, whatever it is." That was the thing about Nadine. She always sounded happy to help. It only became clear later that help meant her telling you what to do. I said, "Eric said we should talk when he gets home from work." She looked out the window. "Oh, is he being late tonight? I guess he won't get any dinner then." The tone settled into the room like a physical weight. Eric, my husband, was aware that the episode of Don't Make a Scene was playing, and he did not want to be a star in it. I went to Jake's room where he was doing his homework on the floor, his back to me, but I could see from the slump in his shoulders he was listening to everything that was happening outside. He turned and looked at me, his eyes wide. "Can she really stay forever?"
I got onto the floor and sat next to him on the rug. I'm not going to let that happen, buddy. Decisions like this need to be made together. But how can you stop her? She's already here. I looked at him, not knowing exactly what to say next, but I knew I had to show him that I was in charge. So I said something that I didn't know was entirely true, but I hoped was. Sometimes you just have to say things out loud, make them real. The television in the next room was still blaring, a supersonic volume of a woman describing the benefits of wheatgrass. I held Jake's hand and told him not to worry. Everything was going to be all right. But then, the actual phone call at the kitchen table with everyone present. Eric, my husband, looked cornered. I said, "Nadine, you cannot live here. Your daughter got the money. You should get the mother." Eric stared at me like I'd just committed a treason. Nadine looked shocked. And then, the best part of the entire ordeal, the phone call that must have been made. Karen, his sister, called Eric in 3 minutes. Eric stood up, diving straight into the argument. Nadine left the room with her suitcase, and there was only a second to say goodbye. Finally, peace. If you've ever had a decision made for you about your home, your space, your family without anyone asking, this channel is for you. Subscribe, and if these stories matter to you and you want to help keep them going, you can support us through Super Chat. Every message means something.
Eric came home Saturday, tired, bags under his eyes, hugged Jake first, nodded at his mother, and gave me a sideways half hug like I was a colleague he barely knew. "We need to talk," I said. He looked at me and understood this wasn't optional. We sat at the kitchen table, Eric, me, and Nadine, who assumed this was a family meeting she was entitled to attend. I took out my phone and called Karen, speaker on, in front of everyone. Karen answered cheerfully. "Olivia, everything okay? Your mom has been living with us for 2 weeks. Oh, that's great though, right? She was so lonely out there by herself." "Karen, I want to make sure I have this right. Your mom sold her house, gave you the money, you used it to buy a bigger place, and now your mom lives in our 2-bedroom apartment with a mortgage and a 10-year-old sleeping on a cot in the living room. Is that accurate?" Silence. Nadine went pale. Eric stared at the table. "Olivia, why are you being aggressive?" "I'm not being aggressive. I'm asking a factual question. You got the money. That means you take the mother. You have 4 bedrooms. I have a husband and kids, and we just finished a renovation. And I have a child and a mortgage and 800 square feet. You have the money and the space. That's the math, Karen." More silence. Then, "This is a family matter." "It is, and I'm family, so I'm part of the conversation now." I hung up. The kitchen was very quiet. Nadine pressed a tissue to her eyes. "You humiliated her," Eric said. "I asked her a question in front of the people it affects. You brought your mother here without asking me, without one conversation. You just put a suitcase in my hallway and texted me not to make a scene. I can make facts visible too, Eric. I just usually choose not to." He had nothing to say to that. That night, Nadine sat in Jake's room with the door closed, talking on the phone. Karen, I assumed. Half an hour later, she came out, eyes red. "Olivia, I think I'll go stay with Karen for a while, sort some things out." "I hope it goes well, Nadine." She opened her mouth to say something else, then didn't. She went back in the room and closed the door. 2 days later, she left. She didn't hug me bye-bye. She said, "Take care," and walked out. Jake got his room back. We folded up the cot. The apartment took a breath. Eric was quiet for a week. Monosyllabic, moving through the apartment like a weather system that hadn't decided what it wanted to be yet. I didn't push. I had shifts. I had things to do. Friday evening, he sat down next to me on the couch. "I was wrong. I know.
I thought you'd just go along with it. I understood that. That's why I did what I did. He was quiet for a moment. Forgive me? Once, I said. And I need you to hear something. Any decision about this apartment, our son, our money, that's both of us. Not you decide and I adjust. Both of us. If you make a unilateral decision again, I'll make one too, and you won't like mine. What does that mean? Think about it. You've got a week home. You have time. He made a sound, not quite a laugh, not quite annoyed. You got tougher. I didn't get tougher. I was always like this. There just hadn't been a reason before.
The following Sunday, I walked outside with a paper bag. Inside, a bottle of good bourbon, 5 stars. Barbara was on the front steps with a crossword puzzle. She leave on her own? She asked. She did. Better that way. No court, no drama. I handed her the bag. She looked inside, nodded with genuine approval. Good choice. We sat for a while in the evening air. The main thing, she said eventually, is calling things what they are. A suitcase is a suitcase. An apartment is an apartment. And money given to one child is not a free pass to move the mother somewhere else. When people get confused about that, you help them get unconfused, kindly but clearly. I sat with her until it got dark. For the first time in 2 weeks, I wasn't tired. Share this with someone who needs it, someone whose home was rearranged without anyone asking. Subscribe to this channel. Every week, a new story about people who held the line on what was theirs. And if you want to support what we do here, Super Chat is open. Any amount keeps these stories coming. See you in the next one.